I cannot begin without acknowledging the group of Myra graduate students who I worked with this week. And the first night I came, I told them I'm going to challenge them. And I told them you find yourself working way past hours and even coming early before hours. And they did not believe it. And lo and behold, I was proven right. That is because we have 6 papers that we think are going to be published in the Cudestria Bulletin, which is one of Cudestria is the #1 think tank in Africa and highly ranked among other think tanks in the world. So please stand and take your wonderful bow because you've earned it. Please, Myra. Go. And that is what we do. We say that the brain power is moving to Africa. And when we say that, we are very serious about it in Dakar, Senegal, where Cudestria is based. Because we believe that we have the potential and we believe that our time is now. We're not going to pass it down to the future generation. We have to do it now. Now, before I came, I was very fortunate. I went to the Cabo Verdean embassy on Labor Day. And Labor Day, all the embassies everywhere in the world have a holiday, except in the United States. So I went to the embassy on Labor Day. I did not know the embassy was closed, but I arrived at the embassy and the ambassador and 2 other personnel were at the embassy working. They decided to work half a day. So as I approached the ambassador was leaving, Carlos Viega, right? And he said, "What do you want?" I said, "I'm here to apply for my visa for Cabo Verde." He said, "But today is a holiday." I said, "Well," I said, "Where? I don't see anybody home. I see all the street with all the cars." He said, "Everywhere in the world it's a holiday, but in the U.S., And I said, "Oh, sorry, then I'll come tomorrow." I said, no, yeah. He took my application, he took the letter that Professor Barros Varela wrote, and he took my 2 pictures, and he said, "Where's your passport?" So I showed him my American passport, and he looked at the passport, and he see country of origin, Sierra Leone. I said, "You don't need a visa, because Sierra Leone is part of ECOWAS." I said, "I know that." I said, "But remember now, I'm traveling with American passport. At least put a stamp there." He said, "Why?" Well, I said, "I don't want to come to Cabo Verde, and by the time I return, they say Cabo Verde is sponsoring me to go for some terrorist training." And then he took it. He said, "Come tomorrow, the passport will be ready with the visa." And I went the next day, and the visa was ready. Even before the time he said for me to come there. So I began to feel already a connection. Not that the connection was not already there, but I began to feel a connection, because most of the things I've heard about Cabo Verde was that Cabo Verde is this beautiful place, beautiful island with beautiful women, but that Cabo Verde is running away from its Africanness to its Europeanness, the Portugueseness. And I said, well, this is something to think about. So I started thinking, how do I really either test or prove this thing, whether it's on the right course or not? So, of course, those of us who are mathematicians, linguists, we like to play with things. And so I will share some few concepts, other presuppositions that suggest a logical comprehensible arrangement, this other presupposition that suggests a state of confusion, mess, disarray, chaos, confusion. And then the unit of analysis is distinct independent existence of what a particular text or story tells us. And the level of analysis, the location, scale, or size of research attribute, and linguistic preposition is the implicit assumption about the world or background belief upon which statements are either true or false. And then we have to have intercodal reliability. That means I have to find Cabo Verdeans that I know in the Washington area to see whether or not what I was saying makes sense. And then I started thinking about what are the major thought processes of Africans and Europeans. Because for Africans, as Sekou Touré, the late president of Guinea, told us, kinesiology is the positive, intuitive thinking of the African spiritual mind. And we see that even during the slavery in the Americas, even though our ancestors were enslaved, they sang songs. Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya, coming for to carry me home. Not because they were happy, but it was for them to generate a spirit of positiveness in their being, in their situation, so that they can survive the hardships of slavery. And then we look at the dominant thought process of the European, which is rational realism, that the world is always unnecessarily an arena of conflict among actors. Then I provokingly say, whatever I'm going to look at, I'm going to test it at the highest level of deep structure, deep thought. So I decided, let me think of log-log linears. And that is to what we call chaos theory, to see whether or not order or disorder is prevalent in a particular text or in a particular genre. And then I decided to test the power law. Whatever it is I'm going to test about Cabo Verde has to be at a logarithmic, the highest power possible. So that way anybody who challenges my generalization will have to prove me wrong by doing even more than what I did. And this is what I found. I looked at the national anthem of Cabo Verde, and of course you know your national anthem, you love it, you sing it all the time, especially in the Olympics. If somebody will everybody wave the Cabo Verdean flag. And then I said, I'm going to test this by fractal analysis. That is whether or not there are other disorder and what degree of chaosness exists in the Cabo Verdean national anthem. And what I teased out was 15 propositions of order and only 3 presuppositions of disorder. What does that tell us? We see that the preamble, if you can see, there's only 1 dot by the 2 at the top there and 1 dot flat, 2 dots right flat here on the 4 and the 5, which tells us that there was very positive relationship in that was straightforward, and then the negative all the way that is almost non-existent. And then I said, okay, to be fair, I'm going to plot it according to how Cabo Verde's order and disorder results in terms of line by line to see whether or not there is really a significant difference between, now I'm thinking of what? The Portuguese national anthem and the Cabo Verde national anthem on one end. And then I said, let me see if I structure it by the same stanzas of the Portuguese, whether or not my second cut will result to the same thing. And of course, you see the power law, you see everything clustered, but there's not even a single line drawn. That tells us right away of this very positiveness of the Cabo Verdean national anthem, the genesiology of the Cabo Verdean national anthem. So I then say, let me go back to the 4 Portuguese stanzas. And of course, you see we have the cluster here between the 10 to the 0 power and 10 to 0.5 and 0.6 power. So here we have these very straight connections, but with not even a graph. But that was not good enough for me. I said, okay, now let me test to see what the Portuguese national anthem look like. Of course, if you've been to Portugal or you're here, you've heard the song. And then here we have the specific graph of the Portuguese national anthem. As you see, it goes from 4 all the way to 6, all the way down. And that is what? A downward sloping curve, which tells us what? That the thought process of the Portuguese national anthem is negative. That means that in space interpretation, we'll begin to see this same thing that we talk about what? About this rational realism of seeing things in a very chaotic light. And then I went further, I said, okay, now let me log plot it as a fractal analysis.